Okay, this is day 42. This is your first day of editing, true editing, and we are going to be really focusing on the first page. However, I want to make sure that you're really emotionally and mentally prepared for this. If you are feeling like you are worried, nervous, if the internal critic is already starting its jibber jabber, I want you to go listen to the fear, internal critic, or affirmations modules, or all three multiple times, whatever you have to do to be able to lovingly move forward and edit. When you put on the editing hat, it is not a judgmental hat. It is actually a non-judgmental hat that is just, does this work? Does this not work? Is it good? Is it bad? Is your soul on the line? No. It's none of that. And the internal critic wants to make it that, but it really is not that. This is really just figuring out if what we wrote on that day, first of all, forgive ourselves if it's not very awesome, and figure out what works and what doesn't work so that we can make it work better. If this is your very first novel, it may not be salvageable. That's okay. Mine has to be a word one rewrite. I may do it someday. I may not. I love the story, but it's a lot of work. And it's not super high concept, so I may not work on it. But whatever you do during this editing process today, you are going to learn from. And that is the most important thing, is to learn from it so that next time you can do a better job. You just didn't know. Until you write a book, you don't know. And that's okay. So you've written a book, so now you kind of have that idea. And now we're going to move forward with it. So today we're going to focus on solely your first page. So get that puppy up in front of you. You're going to look at it. First, look at it. Don't read it. Just look. Are there big, blocky paragraphs, or is there just all dialogue? Or do you have a nice mix of multi-lengthed paragraphs along with a sprinkling of dialogue? That is what it should look like. Now, even if it looks like that, it may not be the best page in the world. If it doesn't look like, though, if it's big, blocky paragraphs, that is usually all description with very little feeling and emotion. If it is all dialogue, underwriting, that is a bunch of dialogue without any emotion, which usually leaves us feeling like it's a bunch of talking heads. We lose track of time and place. We don't have importance. We don't understand because we're confused by all the dialogue, and it's very out of body experience. So the first thing we're going to look at is just what shape is the page in, and can we go in and fix that? If you have big blocky paragraphs, you are overwriting and you are avoiding emotion. So can we go back in and give some emotion, have the same sentiment you had in those, but make sure that we care? Why should we care is the number one question that we ask ourselves about everything. If you have underwritten with a bunch of dialogue, you do no more than 3 to 4 exchanges, me, you, me, without having significant physical or emotional movement. We have to have some kind of movement, whether it's internal or external, so that we reorient to the room and that we understand the emotions and that something's happening, that the character's POV that you're in cares, and that they're being affected emotionally by what's happening. Otherwise, why are we bothering having this conversation if it's not going to be an emotional sentence and something to move the plot along? So that's the first thing you're going to look at. The second thing you're going to look at is all your passive phrases: was, were, have, had, been, started, began. I don't know, there's a bunch of them. You can look them up. But the point is, you can only have about 5. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, passive voice, go listen to the passive voice module. It's free. Is that you should have no more than 5 to 10 passive phrases per page. Third thing you're going to look at is, do we have definitive places that we can point to on the page that is genre? Not a vague sense of, no, where is it? Show me, point, go and circle what your genre words are. And you don't need a lot, but you need it infused in the story, the dialogue, the characters. Everything should feel like your genre. You want to look at your character names. You may have named them and maybe now they don't feel correct. So you just want to make sure that everything is genre driven, because that is what the reader is reading for. We're going to look at the first sentence. Is it awesome? Is it the most awesome sentence you could put right there? Does it start with action? Does it start with some tension? Where are we with it? We really want to make sure that it is a sentence that somebody wants to read more about it. This is day 1 in editing. Tomorrow we're going to go over the first 10 pages of your book and cover more of this in depth. I will see you then.